Greetings, audience. Let's talk about the Stagecoach by Femling Design.
Before we continue, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to make sure you see more videos just like this one. You can also support the channel on Patreon and be one of these amazing patrons, with a special thank you to my pro patron, Nerf Nothing. And now, back to the video.
Before we get into this review, let me say that this Stagecoach was sent to me by Out of Darts. However, the thoughts and opinions on this blaster stated in this video are my own. I was also part of the beta testing team, so I will be able to talk about the printing and assembling experience for the Stagecoach. The Stagecoach is a 3D printed spring-powered double-barrel shotgun that utilizes silly shells. The Stagecoach has a dual trigger system which allows you to have 2 shots before having to reload. Femling Design has options for both left and right-handed individuals, along with options that allow you to fire both barrels off of one trigger pull. The Stagecoach is a break-action blaster which can be actuated by pressing on the lever on top of the grip. Upon opening, the Stagecoach will prime and the blaster will eject the shells, allowing you to reload 2 more. Both shells are rejected simultaneously, so you won't be able to top off if you've only fired 1 shell. The Stagecoach has 2 grip options for you to choose from, one with and one without the stock. Now when it comes to comparing the stockless and stock version of the Stagecoach, the big key factor here is going to be balance. The stock version obviously has more weight on the back end here, so when I'm holding it, while yes, still very front heavy, I'm able to either tuck it under my arm here, which works very well, or put it up here. I find it's personally more comfortable where I tuck it under my shoulder. Not only does it fit comfortably there, I'm also able to kind of use that when I'm priming the blaster to hold it in place. Interesting. This definitely needs trimming. Alright, so we're gonna use some needle nose. The question is, will that fix the issue? Because it is on both sides, which is a problem. Now that I've adjusted that, yeah. Okay, you guys got to see that live pretty much, or at least you got to see me experience it. The elastic and the Out of Darts ones, the strands were sticking out, and so the shells would get stuck, or not stuck, but rather caught on the friction of the threads sticking out into the barrel. All I did was you can use needle nose, you can use Allen key, and pull out the knot that's right there and just readjust it so the strands aren't sticking out. It's an easy fix, and I'll be reaching out to Out of Darts to let them know, so hopefully this won't be an issue for anyone else, and hopefully this is only a me issue. With the stockless version, you end up with a very front-heavy blaster, especially if you're wanting to full-on hold it outstretched. It's a lot of weight. I end up holding it in a similar fashion where I keep it close to my chest and priming it, but I have to now support it with my arm. So you do end up with a heavier prime when doing it with the stockless version, whereas with the stock version, you can either brace it against your shoulder or tuck it under your arm. Some extra options I recommend are the rail and sling options. I'll be printing some out for myself for both of these builds. Now the Stagecoach is a very large, hefty blaster. You're priming 2 beefy springs, but because of the break action priming, it's fairly easy. The Stagecoach features a turnaround system that moves air from the bottom of the Stagecoach to the top where the shells are. To ensure a proper seal, you're going to want to adjust the screw at the top of the Stagecoach. I didn't have to adjust the one I got from Out of Darts, however I spent a lot of time fiddling with the screw on my beta version. But if you end up struggling with trying to get things sealing or working well, definitely check out Femling Design's Stagecoach Dart Blaster Seal Tuning Guide for extra help. Due to the turnaround system, you do end up with less power than something like the Breacher or Battle Axe, which has a direct line from the plunger to the shell. Now, this isn't to say that the Stagecoach is weak, but rather just not as powerful as other options. Essentially, if you're using the Stagecoach, it's because you like double-barrel shotguns. And I very much do and plan on running the Stagecoach for a lot of HVZ games, but I'll definitely be pairing it with a Blitz on my thigh. This is clearly evident when I put it over my chronograph, where the single shells are hitting between 90 and 100 FPS. Mega darts are hitting between 70 and 80. And Mega XL darts are hitting in the 40s and 50s, depending on the quality of your dart. As per usual, the out of darts printing quality is fantastic. I have zero issues with that. They assembled it and I've had no issues firing it around the house. Obviously, when I take it to the field, I'll have more input on that. But as per usual, if it's anything else like they've built for me, it's good, it's solid. Definitely trust them with the build. For printing it yourself, it's all very straightforward. There's instructions available for you to use. There's really no issue you should have printing this out yourself. The only issue is it might be too big for some printers. I'm not 100% sure if this piece would fit on smaller printers, but you'd have to double check that depending on your printer. Now, when it comes to assembly, I rank blasters on a scale of 1 to 10. For springers, 1 is a Spamf and 10 is a Spring Thunder. Now, if you watched my Breacher video, you know I gave that a 6 because it is a bit finicky. The Stagecoach, while being a little finicky in places, is not a difficult blaster to assemble in my opinion. And I do think that it'll take maybe a 4 at most, somewhere between a 3 and a 4. I really don't think it's that hard. I'll probably give it a 4 just because of the trigger mechanism that you have to deal with in here. It's not hard, it's just a little tedious having to line up the triggers and the pins and everything else going on the inside. Now, one of the downsides of the Stagecoach is the fact that now that it's primed, you cannot deprime it, at least not easily. Out of Darts does provide 2 blank shells for you to use. That way you can just throw it in the blaster, fire, and it's deprimed. Now, when you want to eject the shell so you're not leaving the elastic in there stretched out over a long period of time, you can mostly prime it, which will eject the shells but not prime the blaster, which is nice that is that far forward without having to prime the entire blaster in order to eject. Now, I know what you're thinking. Can I flip it up to load it? Technically, yes. I can. However, some of the problems you end up having, you want to keep it all the way primed if you're going to flip it, because if you let it go up and then go back, it'll eject your shells. So you got to keep it fully in this position if you want to be able to flip it shut. Now, another method of depriming you can do, which is not recommended, but it was what I was doing before I was told not to, was tucking it under my arm here and pressing these 2 buttons. You need to be careful because if this snaps shut, it will snap your fingers. So, not recommended, but it's what I've been doing. I just take a small thing here if I don't have my shell on me, push those 2 in, and slowly let that come up. Again, not the recommended way, but it's the way I've been doing it. And if you're doing the stockless version, boy, do I recommend that sling point option that they have. It's the one thing I'm definitely going to be printing so I could throw it on here, because I want to be able to throw this on a sling and just let this go, as opposed to setting it on the ground or having to try to put it in a scabbard or something like that. Although I will be looking at scabbard options as well, because I personally, as ridiculous as this is, I really want to be able to use this as my special killer. No reason. I know it's oversized. I know there's other blasters that do just as well. But it does give me 2 shots, which I think is decent without having to prime. And if I'm able to store it on me like this, I feel like this would be incredibly valuable as far as a special killer if I'm able to just pull it from there, put it back, or have it on a sling. But time will tell. First, I got to put a sling point, get a scabbard, things like that. If you want to run it as a primary, definitely recommend the stock version, as being able to just quickly prime it under your arm is so incredibly useful. Now, when it comes to availability, the Stagecoach files are available on printables, which I will link down below in the description. You can currently only get hardware, printed parts, or fully assembled Stagecoaches from Out of Darts. I will be giving this Stagecoach an A for availability, despite only being available from 1 shop, because you do still have the option of self-sourcing hardware and printing it out yourself. as well as getting hardware or printed parts from out of darts. When it comes to price, it requires some extra elaboration. Hardware kits from out of darts will cost you around $72, with build-it-yourself kits going up to $370, and fully pre-built blasters being $470. These are obviously some high prices. Printed parts costing more than even a breacher. However, the nature of the Stagecoach does lend itself to being more expensive. You essentially have two blasters combined into one, and the Stagecoach has to be printed solid due to the nature of its priming and firing. I do think it's understandable where these prices are. However, there's still the factor of printing your shells. As I've said before, that's a cost that is going to add up over time, especially if you want to run a full silly shell loadout. With all that being considered, I do unfortunately have to give the Stagecoach a C for price. While I understand its pricing when looking at other options available, it's just a hard pill to swallow. Not saying it's not worth the price, just saying people are going to struggle with it. Now, the aesthetics of the Stagecoach really are fantastic. While a bit bulky, the Stagecoach has a bunch of nice touches, like all the details embedded into the blaster, which you can either paint, use AMS, or leave more subtle. Even the orange tip and blank shells have some extra detailing. The Stagecoach is probably one of the best looking shell-fed blasters currently available, and I will rightfully be giving it an A for aesthetics. When it comes to accessibility, the Stagecoach does feature takedown pins. However, that's really just so you can transport it a little bit easier, as it doesn't really give you access to any of the internals. In order to do that, you'll have to undo a lot more screws in order to perform maintenance. Unfortunately, that will land the Stagecoach in a C for accessibility. Overall, the Stagecoach really leans into the fun of a double-barrel shotgun. The biggest weaknesses of the Stagecoach are most obvious when compared to the breacher or the battle axe. You get less power in a bigger blaster with fewer shots. That being said, the Stagecoach wasn't really trying to compete with those other options. The Stagecoach aims to give you that fantastic double-barrel shotgun experience, which I think it does. With practice, you can prime, load, fire, and reload rather quickly, and I can see the Stagecoach doing rather well for HVZ events and low FPS PvP games. If you're like me and you've been wanting a shell-fed double-barrel shotgun that hits harder than the Buzz B1 and is more available than the Foam of Nature, then this is definitely for you. You'll definitely see me out there having fun with the Stagecoach, especially at HVZ. But what do you think? Is the potential of fun outweigh the overall cost? Are you willing to take a lower performance than some other options in exchange for the feel of a double-barrel shotgun? Let me know down in the comments below, and keep an eye out for the field report on the Stagecoach. But until next time, I've been Boomstick, and I'll see you on the field.